Hello, I'm Bill Fleener. I'm the externship coordinator, and we've received your application, so I suspect you'd like to know what's next. So beyond this video, there's a significant amount of information on the portal. I encourage you to look at that. There's some frequently asked questions stuff and some details about how this process works, but just want to run through what we need to do to get you your externship finalized and you registered and all ready to go. First of all, there are several people available to help you with this process. Of course, I'm happy to help anybody at any campus. Dean Church is the dean in charge of clinical programs, so if you have a kind of a policy question, you might talk to her. In Tampa, Laura Bear is there to help you with externship stuff, and in Grand Rapids, Nate Carnes is there to work on externship stuff. Our support person, administrative assistant, is Christine Rosekrantz, and she is the person who receives the externs at Cooley.edu mailbox and the time logs at Cooley.edu mailbox. So as you're communicating with her, building up to your externship and doing your externship, there's the face of the person that you're corresponding with. So on the portal, again, there's lots of information there. I encourage you to wade through that before you ask questions, but we're certainly here to answer any questions you might have. We have somewhere over 3,000 approved externship sites. They are literally located all over the world, as you can see by this map. We have some in Europe and Asia and all over the place, but the vast majority obviously are in the United States. And we have hundreds in Michigan and well over 100 in Florida, and that number's ever growing. To find our existing externship sites, you go to the portal, and then you'll see a link to an applying page. If you click on that, you'll find a link to something called the Externship Site Database. This is a searchable database of our 3,000 plus externship sites. These externship sites have previously hosted a Cooley extern, and it went well. Both the student and the site said that they thought that repeating that process would be a good idea. And so they go in our database for people for future times. Doesn't mean that they will have an externship position every term. So you'll have to check with them, but they're a site that knows how to do it, knows the process, and that makes the process a lot easier. So to search the database, there are search fields. You can search by the city you want to be in, by the zip code you want to be in. You can search by subject matter. Are they a family law firm, an intellectual property firm, whatever? If you know a specific firm that you want to go to, you can search and see if they're on the database or not. All that stuff's available. Again, these are the fields. It works better if you drop down the menu from begins with to contains. You do that by pressing that little triangle at the end of it. That way, if the words are in a little different order than what you put them in, it'll still find them. Or if it's not the first word and you put it in, you'll find it. So particularly in the descriptions, if you're looking for family law, chances that's not going to be the first word. So you'll want to be sure to put contains and pull down. Once you get a result, the phone number and the contact person are there. Because they've hosted an externship in the past, they've agreed to let us call them. So you should call and ask, are you likely to have an externship available next term? And if the answer is yes, ask them if you can submit to them your cover letter resume, which hopefully you've had reviewed by people in CPD at your campus. Often they'll say just send it by email, so we can speed up the process. You email it to them, they get it more quickly than if you have to mail it and stuff like that. So the original contact can be by phone, and then you go from there. Sometimes people will ask for an interview, a phone interview, or a live interview. Other times they'll say, yeah, your stuff looks good, we'll offer you an externship just based on your papers. So it happens in a variety of ways, and you just have to figure out what they're looking for. Again, after you figure out the terms you want, you push Start Search, and the search runs. If you don't find a placement on the database, or if you already know you have a placement that's not already approved, you can propose what we call a student-initiated placement, and that process is a little more cumbersome, but it's not difficult, and we've, as far as I know, never had a student-initiated placement not be approved if they meet the minimum requirements, which are that the attorney has to be admitted to practice for 3 years, so you can't take somebody who's in the class in front of you at school who just graduated and go do an externship for them. They can't have disciplinary problems with the state bar that they're admitted to, and you can't be related to people who work in that office. We want the experience to be a unique and new experience, not somewhere where you already have existing contacts. If you want to do a student-initiated placement, call me or email me. I'll walk you through the process. It's pretty simple, but there are some extra steps, and you should just be aware of those. But if you're thinking of doing one, don't be afraid of doing it. It's an easy enough process to complete. As with all this stuff, the earlier you start, the easier it is to get it done. If you wait and try to do this like over break at the end of the term, and try to get that for an externship next term, it's going to be more difficult. So start early. In order to finalize your externship, we need 2 things. We need an offer from the firm where you're going to do your externship. We call that the externship site. Something in writing, an email is fine. They send that to us, and we know that they're willing to host you for an externship. And then we need your acceptance of that externship. Again, an offer can be an email, but it has to be in writing. If they send you an email saying, we'd like to host you for an externship, you can forward that to externs@cooley.edu, and you'll be good to go. The commitment form is how you accept your placement. It's back on the portal. So again, if you go under the picture of the 2 women, you see finalizing your externship, and you go down to step 2, you see complete the commitment form. The commitment form words are blue. That means it's a link to a form. It's a Google form, kind of like the application you filled out. You complete that application, push send, we get it automatically. You also will have a professor for your externship. During your externship, you will do journaling, which we'll talk more about in later videos. You submit those journals to a professor. Any tenure track professor is eligible to be an externship professor, and most have and do, if they haven't already agreed to do it for several people. If you don't pick professor, we will assign one to you. So if you don't have anybody offhand, or you can't think of anybody you really want, we have people who agree to do it, and we'll assign you to one. If you have a professor you want, some good reasons to pick a professor, somebody you have a relationship with, you've gotten close to in your classes, or someone who has expertise in the subject matter. If it's a criminal law or criminal defense firm and it's somebody who taught you criminal law or criminal procedure, that might work well. However you decide on who you want, if they agree, you should ask them, and if they agree, then they must email externs@cooley.edu to confirm that they're willing to be your professor. An email from you telling Professor Smith is willing to be my externship doesn't work. We need an email from them. So if they email you back and say, yes, I'll do that, then you can forward that to us. That works fine. They don't have to email directly. You can forward it to externs. Registration begins week 13. All externship students are registered by the externship office. You don't have to worry about registering. If you're going to do classes, you should register those during your regular timeline. But we will register you for your externship beginning at the beginning of week 13, assuming that you've got all your things in order. You've done your offer, submitted your offer, completed the commitment form to show your acceptance, and submitted a professor request if you want to do that. If you have any questions about this process, please call or email either the campus people who I talked about in the first slide, or I'm happy to do it. I do this for everybody at every campus, so I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. If you're struggling finding a placement, aren't sure what kind of placement to do, we can talk about all that stuff. Give me a call or shoot me an email. If you're in Lansing, we can set up a time to meet. If you're not, we can talk over the phone. But please, if you have any questions, contact us. And please start early. The earlier you get going, the sooner you can get this out of the way and you're not sweating it during finals week trying to find an externship while you're studying for exams. So get it done early and get the information into us so that we can get you registered. Thanks. Bye.